I could have never imagined when I started in the sport that I would be here. So to be here now the way I am, I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this is, it's a privilege for me to be here. Not many people get to live their dream, and I'm sitting here living my dream. Like, if I can't be happy about that, when am I ever going to be happy? I might as well just give up on life, like, you know.
Ash, when you first walked into the SBG gym as a teenager, did you ever think that this situation could possibly unfold? Was it ever even in your wildest dreams?
Definitely not. Never for a second did I think that I would end up here at this stage. I never thought that it'd get as far as it did. Like, obviously UFC was around the time and I knew of UFC and I was interested in UFC, but Dana was he was like so anti-women in the UFC at that point, you know. Maybe I thought I'd fight on Cage Warriors or something like that, and there wasn't really anything else around, you know. Rosie Sexton was fighting in Cage Warriors when I started, and that was pretty much it. That was kind of, in my mind, the highlight, and that was something to work for, you know. Maybe a year or two later, Cage Rage, Elite XC, those kind of organisations were around, but no, I never imagined this. Never for a second did I think that this was going to be possible.
And if you just talk to us a little bit about your preparation for this current fight, like, you seem like you're in fantastic form. How do you feel? How did training go? And how's the weight cut going? How's everything for Saturday night?
Everything's gone amazing. I've never trained harder for a fight. I've never been more motivated. And not only have I not trained harder, I've never trained smarter. I took days off when I needed to, I rested when I needed to, and most of all, instead of forcing myself to do things that I didn't enjoy doing, I done mostly what I loved doing. Whatever I felt like doing on the day, whatever made me smile that day, I went up and I done it.
And just one final thing for me, obviously you're very close to Paddy. I know he's the new main eventer. What was your reaction? Obviously you're probably slightly disappointed that we've lost a fight in the card, but your good friend is now in the main event. What was your reaction, and have you spoken to Paddy?
I definitely wasn't disappointed that we lost the fight. If anything, I was happier for Paddy to be main event. I had a chat with Paddy last night, and he's just super excited about it. And I'm super excited for him. You know, I love Paddy to bits. Me and him are like peas and carrots, as they say. So my best buddy's the main event. Like, that's amazing. I'm delighted for him. Like, and he earned it. You know what I mean? Like, the crowd support that he had last year and being forced out the gate, and now to be main event, and he was the people's main event anyway, you know. He's the homegrown Irishman, Dubliner through and through. You don't get more Irish than Paddy, and now he's the main event, you know, ahead of a guy who trains in Canada, lived in Wales, hasn't really spent much time in Ireland, never trained here. True Irishman is the main event now, so it's brilliant. I'm delighted for Paddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We spoke to John Kavanagh yesterday, and he predicted that your fight with Ericka Almeida will be fight of the night. Why do you think that is?
I think he probably thinks it's going to be fight of the night because I've been training so amazingly well. I'm in such good shape. I'm so positive. You know, she is a tough opponent. I don't doubt that at all. You know, you don't make it to the UFC unless you're tough. You know, that's just the way it works. This is the Premier League of our sport. So I guess it's just the energy and everything I'm radiating. He's just like, yeah, she's going to go in there and do the business. This is going to be a great fight. So if the coach says it, he's usually good at these predictions.
So what do you think of Ericka as an opponent for you? What did you think when you first heard?
When I first saw her, I thought she looks like she has good jiu-jitsu. She looks like a good grappler. She looks like she hasn't really adapted her grappling game for mixed martial arts at all. She looks a bit kind of one-dimensional. If anybody saw her last fight against Juliana Lima, she pulls guard and stuff. She spends pretty much 3 rounds of the fight on guard bottom. You know, top is king in MMA. So if you're a grappler, you need to adjust your skills to have a top-based game. And if you're going to use guard, you need to be using that to sweep or submit or whatever. So she looked tough. You know, she looked good. You don't get 6 or 7 wins without being tough. But I'm super confident in my skills. I just don't think she has anything for me anywhere. I think my grappling is better than hers. You know, black belt, whatever. It doesn't matter the colour of your belt. It's what happens when we hit the mat. And when we hit the mat, she's going to know. She's going to know my skills are better than hers.
Do you think that it's going to take place on the mat the majority of the fight?
Ideally, it probably will. She pulls guard, so you know that's a huge thing in MMA to pull guard. Anybody who pulls guard, it's almost like it's slightly desperation and to get to the area that you feel strongest in. It's very unusual for somebody to pull guard, but she does do that. So you know, obviously, if she pulls guard in the fight, then it's kind of something that I might have to get involved in. But I'm expecting anything in this fight. Honestly, I'm ready for anything. But I like to ground and pound. I'm a strong grappler. She's a strong grappler. It likely will happen there.
So, after the heartbreak of Ireland crashing out of the Rugby World Cup, do you feel that, Saturday night with all the Irish fighting here, that you can kind of, mend some hearts and, build some new fan base up?
Definitely, yeah. Like I was saying earlier, I just feel like the Irish love to support their athletes, and honestly, I'm sure there is some sore heads and people feeling a bit down in the dumps after the Rugby World Cup. But on to this weekend, guys. Ireland are still trying to take over the world and something else. So get on board, join us, support us. You'll definitely be happy on the night, you know what I mean? Like, we're all coming out here winners at the end of the night, you know what I mean? Even some of the fights last year, you saw what that crowd can do, Colin, Mike King, that looked like that was a done deal, that fight, and that crowd just pushes you over the edge. Like, it's going to be an amazing night for Irish sport.
Ash, you were a pretty big part of Cage Warriors history with the likes of Rosie Sexton. Have you been keeping an eye on Graham Boylan, who's brought him out right and he's teasing a return? Are you keeping an eye on that, and do you think he can restore it to what it was not too long ago?
I've been paying a little bit of attention to it. Obviously, we have some girls training with us now, and obviously there's the next wave of just female athletes in Ireland, like female MMA athletes, and even girls who maybe aren't on my team exactly, but the community is so small knit that I kind of like to keep an eye on who's around, and for the next wave. So hopefully, Graham can build Cage Warriors back up to what it was before and get that women's scene rolling, and become a feeder for UFC or whatever, because that's what it was. It was kind of like once you had the Cage Warriors belt, then UFC scooped you up, and it was fantastic because it really showcased the best of Irish and UK talent, and not only for the ladies, even for the men's. Like my male teammates, it would be awesome for them to get Cage Warriors contracts and build themselves up and get themselves a decent record going to get here, you know what I mean? It's one thing, we have so many amazing guys in the team, like Dylan Chuk and stuff like that, guys who've just made their pro debuts, and if they're given somewhere to showcase their skills, I know the UFC will scoop them up, but how can the UFC scoop up what they can't see? They need to be given a platform to perform on, so hopefully Cage Warriors, hopefully Graham can build it back up. He's been fronting the show there for a year, so nobody knows the business like he does, so hopefully he has the resources where he can build it back up, and that'd be fantastic for everybody in Europe. Cage Warriors was the biggest promotion in Europe.